Doc coming at you from Bonsai 5 by 365 here from Artistry Bonsai Studios in Western Massachusetts. The Botany for Bonsai project. This is episode 3 of 365, and today's question is, what are the parts that make up a tree? So this is a pretty straightforward episode. There's essentially 4 basic parts. I'm going to start with a ginseng ficus as an example, which is a tropical tree, fig tree, Ficus microcarpa, or microcarpa, I believe. Which, little sidebar, actually quickly, anytime that I mention a tree from this point forward, or show a tree, one of my own, this is a bonsai in training, it's in a gross plastic training pot, but that's okay. In the description for the episode, I will list both the common name and the proper name, so if you ever want to look up what a tree was, it'll make it easy for you. So, tropical broadleaf evergreen, however, same as a deciduous tree that loses its leaves in many ways. The structure: leaf, branch, trunk. Leaf, stem, branch, trunk. One more under the soil. Actually, in this case, we'll be able to see a couple above the soil because it'll have a couple air roots. There's one right there. The roots. The last part. The structure of an evergreen tree, a coniferous tree, is very similar. This is a leyland cypress, Cupressaceae leylandii. Those of you who live in Great Britain will be quite familiar with these, as they are very, very common hedgerow trees, especially in London, and all over England, and to some degree the other parts of Great Britain, but certainly in England they're very common hedgerow trees. Leyland cypress, they grow very, very quickly. There's actually a fascinating history of court cases in England involving these trees blocking out people's light, but that's a whole other tangent I don't want to get on. But the structure is essentially the same. There is leaves, in this case needles, which are also leaves. Could also be scales, in case of like a monkey puzzle or something. Stems, leading to branches, leading to a trunk. In this case, a multi-trunk tree, but still a tree, going back to our definition. And then roots. This has exposed surface roots, visible surface roots. Also a bonsai in training, another beautiful training pot. These are, despite being very ugly, they're very effective for forming root bases. When there's exposed roots on a bonsai like this, the Japanese term for it is nobari. If I ever get to a bonsai history podcast, we'll talk a little bit about Japanese versus Chinese influence on bonsai. Nonetheless, this is an English language podcast. Most of the terms I use will be in English, although the term nobari to mean surface roots, the Japanese term, has become pretty much accepted across the bonsai world, I believe. So I will use that term regularly. So, those are the basic structures of a tree. Its leaves, its stems, its branches, its trunk, and its roots. I'm leaving out one major part of tree structure, which is the reproductive structure. This is something we will cover in detail. Flowers, fruits, seeds being the 3 main components of reproductive structure. There is something underlying all of these elements that I have mentioned today with these trees, and something very important. And that important thing underlying all of these elements is that they're all made up of the same building block. Different types of this building block, but the same building block nonetheless. And that is the cell. I'm I'm not going to go tinier, more microscopic than the cell. I'm not going to get into atomic structure, particle physics. I'm not going to be talking about how many neutrons and protons and in those, how many up and how many down quarks make up different parts of the tree. We will do a little bit of atomic chemistry throughout this as needed for the biochemistry of life when we talk about photosynthesis and we talk about reproduction, flowers, seeds, fruits, that sort of thing. But as far as we're going to go for day-to-day with the course, we don't need to go smaller than the plant cell. Cells make up plants and cells make up animals. We're made of cells. We have brain cells, heart cells, liver cells, skin cells. Flick a few million off. Plants differ from animal cells in that they have chloroplasts, which are what makes the leaves green and what enables them to capture energy from the sun. Animal cells, on the other hand, have mitochondria. Mitochondria. I think that's I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big Star Trek fan, not a big Star Wars fan, but I think the mitochondrian might be a made-up Star Wars word. I'm not sure, to be honest. Anyway, the animal cells have mitochondria that enable them to use energy through respiration. Some plant cells do as well. Plant cells, though, have something unique, which is chloroplast, which allows them to photosynthesize. So that's where we're headed. The next episode 4 will be about the basic structure of a plant cell, and that's when we get into the botany proper. We're going to learn structure of a cell, and we're going to go from there. That'll be our first, let's call it chapter 1 main section of botany. The first main section of botanical learning is going to be about plant cells, and that's where we will pick up next time.